O'Leary is a man of many talents. You may recognize him from the TV screen where he played Dr. Rick Bauer on the daytime drama The Guiding Light for 20 years. And when he's not reading his lines, he's reading the real estate pages. And that's because he's a realtor at Coldwell Banker. And he joins us now to talk about some of the things you may want to consider before purchasing a new home. And we thank you for being here on Ebru Today.
It's a pleasure being here today.
Hey, right now is a good time to buy a house.
It is an excellent time to buy a house. 30-year fixed mortgages are averaging 3.5% across the country. There's never been a better time to buy a house. These are historical lows.
One of the questions that I have to ask you is, how did you make a transition from actor to real estate broker?
Well, you know, I love people. I love being part of the home process. When I was raised as a young person, I didn't really have a place, that respite called home. I used to go to Minnesota to be with my grandmother, so home really means a lot to me. And so as I was thinking about making this transition from being an actor, real estate was kind of a natural fit for me.
Well, I can't imagine anything more exciting than buying a home, and you know, usually it's the biggest purchase of your life. Yeah. What are some of the things people should be asking a realtor? Because a lot of folks are considering buying a home with these, as you said, historically low prices.
Right. Well, I think one of the most important things to ask, especially if you're selling your home, is how much experience does that realtor have selling the home in your area, and particularly pricing the home where your home is being positioned at.
Okay.
And also, you know, ask for the realtor to have comparables. So, you know, how much that house was, how much was it listed for, and how much did it sell for, and how many days that house is on the market. It's very important that that realtor position those homes at the right price, because you're going to get the most amount of money for your home in the first 90 days.
Okay, and also, of course, you have to make sure about all the inspections and things like that.
I recommend to my sellers, get the inspection before you even list your property. That way, you are leveraged as opposed to the buyer. So if you know exactly what's wrong with your home before you even put it on the market, that way you can address those problems before you get to the inspection phase.
What about foreclosures? I mean, obviously we're coming out of this recession from a couple of years ago.
Right.
A lot of people were saying renting was the way to go, and that was just a couple years ago. Now we're saying go buy a house. But what about buying a house that was in foreclosure?
Well, you know, when you're going to buy a home, a lot of times you don't know the situation of what that person is. Over half of the people under 40 years old are underwater. So I would say, you know, navigate that with your realtor and ask for a specialist, ask for a realtor who specializes in foreclosures.
Okay.
There are certain designations that a realtor has, and so it's very important, if that's your goal, ask that realtor, do they have experience in foreclosures and short sales?
All right, what about a person who wants to sell a house? Okay, and they say, hey, you know what, I'm just going to do it on my own, it's easier. Why is it so important to work with a real estate agent?
Well, the realtor knows exactly what's going on. You know, real estate is localized. Each town can vary. In fact, each section of your town can be different and so a realtor knows what's going on in your community. They know how to leverage and how to negotiate. It's a very complicated process. There's one thing, it's more than just putting a sign in your front yard. It's about, you know, positioning your house at the right price, negotiating that price, going through the inspection phase, and making sure that you're on top of the bank too, because a lot of times deals fall through unless the realtor is on top of that mortgage broker and making sure that that commitment comes in on time. So it's a very detailed process.
Okay, so I'm a new person, a new homeowner. I'm going to go walk through a couple of houses that I like, and I'm taking you with me. We're going to go walk through.
Sure.
What are some of the things that I might be wanting to look at in the house? Anything like damage or anything? What are some of the little tricks that you can teach us?
Well, I think the most important thing, you know, ask for a seller's disclosure. A lot of times those are available, so you kind of know what's going on when you walk into a house. And those seller's disclosures could be right when you walk in the front door. There'll be the listing and there'll be the seller's disclosure. So, you know, I would say take some time, look over the seller's disclosure, ask your realtor questions. Obviously, water damage in the basement is important for those in the Northeast that have basements.
Like a water line or something?
Yeah, ask for the water line. Is there any flood zones that you should be aware of?
Well, especially now.
Especially now when you see all the things that's going on with Sandy and everything else. Am I in a flood zone? Am I near a river that could overflow? Those are all important questions to ask.
Okay.
Yeah.
And with these not only the mortgages but also the prices. It's probably one of the best times. But how do you what do you advise people not to overextend themselves, because we've seen a lot of that happening as well.
That's a very important point, is that you need to ask your realtor, what are the closing costs, you know, associated with buying a house. There's title search, and there's expenses attached to buying a home, and in many cases it could be up to $10,000 to $12,000. Get pre-approved. Know what your limit is before you go buying a house. So it's important to get pre-approved, especially now with home prices starting to rise. You want to be able to be a ready, willing, and able buyer when you get into the marketplace.
All right, it's a great time to buy. Thanks for sharing these tips. Michael O'Leary from Coldwell Banker, we appreciate your tips.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right.